Welcome to Loup TV. I'm Gene along with Doug for Monday, January 31st. Our two topics today are Sony acquiring Bungie, and separately, we're going to weigh in on the Spotify controversy. Doug, bringing us back to the top here. Sony acquires Bungie for $3.6 billion. Bungie is the creator of the game Destiny. Bungie also was the studio that was building Halo way back in the day, so they have a long-term had a long-term relationship with Microsoft. They originally bought the studio for in 2007 for like $20 or $40 million. And then the relationship kind of went away as by design in 2019. And here we are, Sony stepping up and making the purchase. Feels like the same, we're talking about the same company, Sony, Microsoft, but there's also a theme that just keeps coming up. And I'd love for you to frame that in for us.
The theme is that this rush to acquire great gaming IP is not over. I think that's the bottom line. If you think about what's going on here, we saw Take-Two with Zynga, a very large purchase, Take-Two kind of rounding out its mobile gaming portfolio. Then we had Microsoft, obviously, with Activision, adding Call of Duty and World of Warcraft to its stable. And then now we have Sony. Everybody kind of said, and Sony's stock fell after the Microsoft news a couple of weeks ago, assuming that Sony's got to do a deal. They have to build some of their stable a little bit. And I think with this is a relatively small deal compared to Zynga at over 10 billion, compared to the Activision deal, even much larger than that. And so I would even go as far to say as I don't think Sony's done. I think Sony probably needs to do more here. And I think if you're, a mid-tier game publisher, somebody like an EA, you probably have to think about, do I get bigger? Do I go bigger here and try to build up my stable, or do I try to find a big partner to essentially side with as we get into this big gaming IP battle?
Feels like an appetizer when you look at it in the context. Sony, $135 billion market cap. So we're likely not done yet. I'm curious, do you think that this was in the works 2 weeks ago before Microsoft-Activision was announced?
I'd have to imagine that conversations like this in the gaming space are happening all the time. I mean, I think that the concept of kind of gaming consolidating is actually something that we've been talking about in the industry, around the industry, for several years. And it just feels like, I don't know whether it was the Zynga deal or the Activision deal, but it feels like we've kind of hit that spark now. And I think conversations that probably had been happening are now just being accelerated.
So from a game publisher standpoint or distributor standpoint, is it just fear of missing out? Things start happening, that your competitor could potentially make a move and then you're forced to jump in?
Well, I think it's a recognition that there's only so much really great gaming IP. And obviously, all of these developers are creating new titles, new games. Everybody's going to continue to invest in new IP. But, great old gaming IP, I hate to use the word old because I used to play a lot of these games as a kid, but like great old gaming IP has a really long shelf life. You look at something like GTA, the Grand Theft Auto franchise, that's a 25-year-old game. And it's one of the best-selling games of all time. Everybody's eagerly anticipating GTA 6. We've been waiting for it for more than 8 years now.
We got another 4 to wait too, by the way. But
I would say probably take the under on that, but we still have several more years. I definitely agree with you. And I think that it's just a simple reality of games, unlike, content that you might think about from a movie standpoint, right? Like Star Wars is great. Everybody's always going to watch the old Star Wars films from time to time. But I think the acquisition of Disney, of the Star Wars franchise and the Marvel franchises by Disney, it was really about creating new IP and then, building that out, creating their streaming service around that. I think for gaming, you can buy old IP, and that IP is very usable in these streaming services that are emerging, like Xbox Game Pass.
When I think about those iconic game franchises, I think about ones that might have been iconic, but I don't know if will stand the test of time. Think about Pokemon or you could even argue Fortnite. I don't know where it stands today, but are there really that many? Maybe that's your point, is that a lot of these don't stand the test of time. So when you find one like Destiny, it's gold.
Yeah, I think Destiny is one that, if you had to rank, games, I mean, Destiny, I think the first Destiny, I want to say, it was maybe a little over 10 years old. I think Destiny 2 came out in 2017. So that's a title that's almost 5 years old. It's still very popular. It's probably not in the same class as a Call of Duty, which is almost 20 years old. GTA, like we talked about, 25 years old. But I think it's up there, and so I think it's a good, smart acquisition for Sony as they think about how do we build a kind of content portfolio that's still competitive with what Microsoft is doing.
And from Loup, from our portfolio standpoint, we've have a measurable investment in the gaming space for all the reasons that we've talked about. The investment was in place before. Happy to see what's going on more recently, but doesn't change, I think, one of the undeniable truths, whether it's gaming or video content, about the importance of content. And that is likely going to keep moving up. Let's move on to the second topic. I think when I think about content, I think about music. When I think about music, sometimes I think about Spotify. Sometimes, more recently, I think about podcasts. For those of you who are not aware, there is disagreement between Neil Young and Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan is a hired gun for Spotify. And so he is paid for, he takes a salary from Spotify to create content. There were some questions related to, or some comments, whether it was from him or someone else, related to the pandemic, that Neil Young took issue to, other artists have taken issue to, Apple has taken advantage to. Here we are. Apple Music now is showcasing different artists that have been stepping away from Spotify. And my first read of this has been going on for a while. We've been trying to stay out of it, and here we are talking about it. And part of the reason we've been trying to stay out of it is, do we really have anything to add here? And it just feels kind of like a he said, she said. But the more we think about it, there's some, I think, lessons, or at least a roadmap to how these types of conflicts are going to play out.
Yeah, well, I don't know if there's necessarily a roadmap. I would say that I don't think this is the end of these conflicts. This is just the most recent example. We've seen conflicts on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube, kind of all the major services that have taken different actions to say, like, hey, look, this is the type of content we don't want to have on our platform. And I think we're going to continue to see disputes like this. I think as it pertains to Spotify, the stock's up 12% last time I checked it today. So what the company did in terms of issuing a statement, saying that they're going to add some disclaimers ahead of episodes relative to COVID or other sensitive topics. It seems like investors are satisfied with that as a response. Joe Rogan responded, and so we'll see how the long term goes. I think the thing that's always the most important thing here is ultimately when all this noise around the dispute sort of dies down, do users actually decline on the platform at Spotify? And I don't know if we're going to see that. I mean, they had 400 million change users in Q4. So, I mean, it's a big platform, and people want music, people want podcasts, and I don't think that's going to change.
Yeah, they're adding about 20 million per quarter right now. Just before the pandemic started, December 2019, they're at about 270 million, for 270 up to just about 400. It's been impressive. Spotify's jumping. Maybe, there is the thought of, do users get burned out? Somebody who's sympathetic to one of the sides and gets irritated. But there's probably going to be enough controversy over the next few years that if you're frustrated with something that's going on the platform today, you'll probably be happy 2 weeks later, 2 months later. It's just, the law of numbers are probably going to even all of this controversy out over time. Would you agree with that?
I generally wouldn't. I've had an evolving view that there's, we've always had this term, the silent majority. I think there is a very large number of people that sit in the middle between the extremes on both sides of these common arguments that are interested in hearing opinions and feel that they're capable of sort of processing those opinions themselves. And so, I think that probably the majority of people feel that, they're capable of kind of deciding what they do and don't want to listen to. And I think they want platforms to be open and free. I think there's a very vocal minority on both sides that really enjoy fighting with each other about things like this. And I don't think that that's going to stop anytime soon. I mean, politics is the new religion. and it gives people who are very passionate about their side a reason to fight with each other.
Indeed, it's something that we talk a lot about. Things that people are religious takes, whether it's investment styles, whether it's actual religions or politics. There's going to be more coming down that pipeline on behalf, and something else is coming down the track here for tomorrow. Just as a quick reminder, Google earnings. Looking forward to breaking through there. I still think that they're gonna exit tomorrow, being considered the oxygen of the internet. I don't think much is going to change there. Keenly looking for any commentary about advertisers pulling back spending because of the supply chain environment. And we will wrap there. On behalf of Doug, Gene, and Loup TV, bye for now.